Hello, this is Mike Friday with the Nickel Independent Film Festival. We are celebrating our 25th year this year, which is very exciting. And as part of that, we are connecting with some filmmakers from Nickel's past, present, and future. And today I'm talking here with Stacy Gardner, who is the director of a film in the Nickel this year, 73 Seconds. Hello, Stacy. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
So before we talk about the film, I just wanted to talk about how you got your start with filmmaking. Where did how long have you been sort of making films, and how did you find your way into it?
Oh, since 2023. It's been a long, arduous couple of years. Yeah, I mean, all joking aside, I've probably been a writer my whole life, but in terms of filmmaking, yeah, I entered into the first time film with NIFGO in 2022, and at that time, Vida Nairn was encouraging me greatly to look at filmmaking as an option to explore storytelling. And I think her and I had probably interacted sort of on peripherally because it was COVID, for a couple of years, wasn't it? Like from 2020 to 2022 or something. And I think I think we followed each other on Instagram, and we're liking each other's things. And then I think we ended up in a online workshop, and then I don't remember how it happened, but we ended up connecting and going. I'm at the Bannerman Brewery. We ended up chatting for an afternoon, and then we're like, oh, we're gonna make a film together. So that's how that happened, and that resulted in the short documentary film, The Gaze, which, the Nickel graciously screened last year in 2024. And yeah, I would say that's where it started. So this 73 Seconds is my second film, and I hope to make one more short and then maybe explore a feature.
So your first film was a documentary, and now you've moved into narrative fiction. How did you find that changeover?
Uh, well, I mean, the thing is, it's all new to me. So, uh, I don't, I mean, in terms of, I probably in my brain wasn't thinking, oh, I'm a documentary filmmaker who's transitioning into narrative because I haven't been doing it long enough to be able to assert that I have a particular genre that I'm committed to. Um, I guess the difference would be, like, having only two films, is that with The Gaze, it's one subject, one person, and Janoke is very much the narrator in that documentary, and it was really important to me for her voice to be the present voice in that story. And so that meant, being able to record her in advance of shooting her. And so that was very conversational. And so it felt really, it was both intimate and the process was creative. But in terms of how the amount of work that went into, I mean, that was shot in one day. Whereas 73 seconds, I think about that and I go, well, it was probably more work for everybody, for everybody else around me because there was a much larger team involved with the gays. There was five of us. I think it was myself and Vida and Duncan DeYoung, and we had a PA named Leona, and the sound person, Dakota, and that was it. And I was even the caterer. I made soup the night before. So, and then we move into 73 seconds, and that's a picture start. So there's a little more money involved, and the story, even though it's still a short film, it was it was quite demanding because, I said it was a time period piece. So there was that element that we had to be creative around, and then there was the fact that it took place in a classroom. So it wasn't, one subject. So even though the protagonist is the central character, there's a whole other world that she's responding to around her. And so that meant, needing a first AD and a second AD and having all of this amazing talent around me to help navigate all of that. So it was a completely different experience. Not better, not, but just different. And that was shot over 3 days. Day one, it was shot between my house and my neighbors. And day 2 and 3 was in a classroom at MUN.
So working with that bigger crew, did you find that gave you a bit more freedom as a director? Were you able to focus in more on like that singular role where you don't have to make the craft anymore? At least, do you have to? Did you find that there was a difference in that?
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple times though I did forget to say action. Like when you're having all of these people around you, and there were a couple of times where because I relied on them so much because I was learning so much from the process as it was happening, that yeah, there were definitely moments where somebody would look at me and go, I'm like, oh, action. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, did it take the pressure off? Absolutely. I mean, I felt like it took the pressure off because I had a lot of people around me that knew a lot more about filmmaking than I did. And I say that from the perspective of that they all have experience working on other shows and films and so on. So for myself, again, I still feel very much like I'm a learner. And so I really, as much I was confident in my story, in the one that I wanted to tell. So that was really exciting for me to be able to be facilitating in that execution. Yeah.
So talking about being a learner and being surrounded by these professionals, which I agree is one of the best parts of working with a bigger crew. I feel like I don't know if that feeling will ever go away. Yeah. But what was when working on this film? Do you have any sort of standout lessons that you learned, like something that you'll carry forward, or something that somebody who's coming into this experience for the first time might benefit from?
I mean, it's interesting because a lot of people, there's probably things that are happening that you're not always fully aware of until they're happening. So, there were some funny moments like where you're concerned and going, "Oh my God, how is this going to work out?" Because the chalkboard with the chalk was really noisy,
Right.
and also, when you think about certain lessons, like, I mean, just from the perspective of budget and logistics, I guess, I know for myself the next film that I would like to shoot, 2 people, 1 location. And that's not because, well, one, that's from a budget perspective. It's from being able to knowing that I want to tell a story that's all that it needs to do. So I think having each of these experiences, like the documentary shot in 1 day, 73 seconds with a large crew, bigger cast with the background cast of kids over 3 days, And then now this idea to shoot one where it's one location and two people, I don't feel there's a wrong or right. I think that it comes down to what can you learn from that, and how can you take those lessons into the next project. And I think with 73 seconds, I mean, what was really interesting is finding a school that even had a chalkboard, because they don't exist anymore. It's all smart boards everywhere. So Munn was one of the few schools that still had a chalkboard. And also discovering that if you luck out with somebody like Hillary Thompson and you cannot find the book that you're looking for, that you want to have shot in your film, is that if you have someone who's really creative and inventive, that they can make it for you. There's some things that you sort of think that you have to have, and then somebody else will figure out a way for you to have it. So I mean, in terms of lessons, I just feel just being humble and open to everybody's being able to help. Everyone wants you to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And I think there's something really, lovely and communal about that. So, yeah, I don't know if there was a specific lesson, but I do know that being open to other people's ideas and suggestions is super important. Yeah.
That's great. I think that's a really useful piece of advice. And I think that leads us pretty well into talking a bit more specifically about 73 Seconds as a film. I wanted to talk about, capturing the time period. Was there, when you were coming up with ideas to go through with Picture Start, I know there's like a long pitching process. Can you tell me about how the idea for this film came about, and how you decided that this was sort of the time period that you wanted to work with?
Sure. I mean, I have the poem right here in front of me that I wrote. So it was originally a poem, and the poem, funnily enough, was prompted by this was several years ago, but I think the Rocket Bakery, in tandem with what was the Writers Alliance of Newfoundland and Labrador then, which is now Writers NL, had a contest, and one of the prompt words was rocket. And because, of course, it was the Rocket Bakery. And that was it. I just, I sat and I wrote that poem one afternoon, and this was easily probably in 2014 or something like that. And then I left it. That was it. But it always stayed in my mind as a cinematic piece. And so the prompt being rocket just put me in memory of the Space Challenger. And then it put me in place of the character and what that day must have been like for a kid, on what would be an extraordinary moment from the outside, but a rather ordinary moment for her on the inside. That we're all sort of that when anytime anything extraordinary happens in life, 9/11, the Ocean Ranger, we're always aligned with something very ordinary as it's happening. And then what that looks and feels like when it's a simultaneous calamity, I guess. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's great. I can
I'm an
definitely see
80s
that.
kid, so I mean,
Yeah. Did you have any other? Was there anything else that was either fun or challenging about recreating that time period for the film?
Oh my God, it was all fun. Yeah, I have to say it was pretty giddy making to Because it's kind of like being a kid, and you're like, you're going back. You almost feel like you get to go back and revisit a part of your life that you no longer personally have access to, but you can kind of resurrect it through, you know, calling out some music and like getting the spoons and having them grace us with permission to use Nova Heart at the beginning of the film. And so that pure 80s, fun electric music and the clothes, the fashion. I mean, Melanie Mooney was even nominated for an award with the Canadian. I don't want to mess it up, but I know it has something to do with clothes and design and fashion. Okay, and the books, just being able to pull out little things, and of course with Hillary, just pulling out, getting a crimping iron and just getting a lava lamp, like just fun, just fun to be able to pull all that stuff. It was like going back into, like your little treasure chest in your kid's imagination, and just being able to pull out this stuff and make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun, and it reads really well on screen. It is a great time capsule. It's funny seeing your people who you recognize from town. It's a St. John's thing, I guess, but you're seeing your friends who act in these almost like time machine
Yeah.
situations.
Well, I mean, I guess too with this film is because they were all young people. Uh, Most of them would be completely unrecognizable.
Hmm.
And I think too, um, the story is not place based. It's experience based. So I didn't really want. I didn't feel that I needed to focus on where we were in the world, only that we were in her world. And because it was so interior, it was in her head, in the classroom, on the television screen. I never felt it was really important to make it about a geographical experience.
Yeah, that's great. I wanted to ask you too about you've had two films now, and you've said you've only recently sort of started this like journey into filmmaking, but you've worked in as a writer, and you've adapted now your own work to the screen. Is there any like advice that you would give to anybody who's maybe working in another artistic discipline, who might be toying with the idea of coming into film? Any sort of advice that you think, some ways to help smooth their journey?
Yeah, well, firstly, I think you should. I think you should try every color in the palette, and I think that storytelling really doesn't have any boundaries. So, when somebody might ask me, "Oh, you're a filmmaker," and in my head, I'm going, "Well, I'm a storyteller first," and how that ends up, whether it's in a poem, whether it's in a stage play, whether in these instances in a film. I think ultimately, if you love telling stories, I think it's really important to find someone that you can tell that story to. And if that person happens to be in this particular industry, in the film industry, even better. Because I think bouncing those ideas off of someone is probably one of the first best places to start, is to find a person, join I facilitate writing groups. They're very open, they're very welcoming, and they're open to any person in terms of whether they consider themselves a beginner or an advanced writer. And it's really about finding your voice, and just being playful, and not looking too far ahead in the future. because I think that can be a bit weary making. And so I think that just finding some people in that space that you want to be telling stories, whether it's theater or whether it's film. I think it's important to find community. And that might be one person to start with, because that's how it started with me. One person, and then the world kind of opens up.
Yeah, that's great advice, and I think that a lot of most of the artists that I know, if not all of them, are always open to talking with people and
Mhm.
chatting about their art and hearing ideas about other people's art. So, yeah,
Yeah, because I think no matter what, I think no matter how much someone has published or produced or performed, you're still kind of always a beginner. You're still, I think you're always, you don't know everything. So, I think that for the most part, people are excited to talk to you about the craft, no matter where they're at on their journey, because it also re-energizes them to talk about art, to talk about craft or story or films. So I think it ends up being a very symbiotic relationship.
absolutely. Well, I think that's a great spot to end things on for us here today. Thank you so much for chatting with us about the film. Anybody who's watching, if you're interested in seeing the film, it's showing on Monday, June 16th, opening night at 9 p.m. That's 73 seconds. Thank you, Stacy Gardner, for coming and talking with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I want to plug Ian Foster Music, because he's doing a composer workshop with NIFCO on, I think it's next weekend, not this weekend, but the following weekend. So a great lead up to Nickel. If someone's interested in doing a 3-hour workshop, and Ian was amazing to work with on The Gaze and 73 Seconds. So again, that kind of creative community and being able to access someone like that, Ian is lovely, and so I highly recommend taking workshops. 'Cause that's a great place to start.
That's great. Yeah, and Ian has a film in the festival this year as well. Hang in there, playing on
Yeah.
Saturday the 21st.
Okay. I'll
And I
get to
think we'll
see it.
probably be
Yeah.
talking to him too. Yes.
Okay.
Great. All right. Thank you, Stacy.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.